Hello, everyone. Last time we stopped with, your turn on page what? Take a look. It was page 24. We discussed all of these things here, and we were working on these questions, right? The title of these questions were are your turn. Of course, I think we read the first one, and I think even Shakir, answered this question. When you were a child and you got a good grade on a test, huh? What did your parents say? Well, since none of you guys are here and I'm recording, when I was a child and I got a good grade on a test, my parents would be so happy. Um, and they would be so proud of me, and they would always, say nice words to me, and tell me like words like good job, excellent, you're great, you're amazing. We hope that you always you know get these high and great grades, because generally speaking, grades are supposed to reflect your understanding and your knowledge, or your gaining of certain knowledge and experiences, right? Yeah. And of course, how did I feel? Of course, I felt proud of myself and happy. Mostly like when I really feel that I did, put in a lot of effort. I studied a lot and I really gained an understanding of what I read or studied, that was the time that I really felt proud of myself. So sometimes I would get a very high grade, I'd be, proud of the grade. But I mean, like, when I really feel that I didn't gain much and it was a coincidence that I got this high grade, on the inside, I don't know, I would be not so happy, let me say. The real time when I, like a real time when I would be really happy was the time when, you know, two things happened. That is, I really gained knowledge and information that I feel that I'm going to be using later on in life. And I got the good grade. So those together were the ones that would always make me very happy, even as a child. All right. Describe the way you got report cards when you were a child in school. I still remember, guys, that when I was a kid, and like after the final exams, whether it was like between the two semesters, like after the first semester, or even after the second semester, um, I would be really excited on the day of the report cards. I don't know, even if I did not get that, like very high grades, I don't know, there was this kind of excitement. It would be like something like the day of Eid, right? Um, yeah, I would get all dressed up, and me and my sisters and brothers, of course, and we would like one night before, the night before, we would sleep early, and we would go to school the next morning. Like my dad would stop us at school, either he would come with us or he would just let us go with our friends, and we would come back home either with him, or we would we would go back home with a friend's dad or mom would drive us back home, and we would bring those report cards back home. Like if we really got good grades, we would be so happy to show them, and we'd be happy. But if we got grades that we did not like, we wouldn't be so happy to show them to our parents, but we would show them to them, because we just had to. All right, because they expected that. They would expect that, um, yeah. My parents had to sign the report cards and we had to return them. Yeah, that was like, so it was must, so that it would be like a way to show that your parents saw the report cards. Yeah, me and my friend, basically, we would like compare our grades with each other. She would take a look at my report card and I would take a look at hers, and see it's, and in order to see who did better in the exam and so on. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the other terms that we have, I think, discussed before, but they're here in these following sections. They are clarified even more and discussed even more. So take the test cold. Of course, as you can see, we have words in brackets. Sometimes we may not need to use them all the time. Okay, like if I was going to talk about more than one test, I would say like I took several tests cold. So I wouldn't need or the. So it depends on how you're going to use, this phrase, right? So I took a test cold means that I took the test without studying for it. And of course, I do not advise you to take a test without studying, for that test, right? So let's say that, on Sunday, all of you will come prepared and will come what and take the test, not so cold. Um, now the grammar note is use the when you are talking about a specific test. Of course, yeah. So when I tell you guys, I hope that you come and you take the test. What do I mean? I mean, the listening test. Why do I say the? Because I assume that you understand that I'm talking about the listening test, okay? Because that's what I teach you. So me and you and I know what, I'm talking about here, right? Yeah. So let's move on to the next dialogue. I'm sorry that I'm going to have to read it on my own. So we have two speakers here. I can't believe I got an A. One person, two students are talking to each other, and the other person says, why? Because look, I took the test cold. It happened to me before, guys, that I took, like a quiz, let me say, not a test, cold. Like I didn't prepare that much and did not review, let me say, and then I took a test and I did get an A on it. So when I say that I took it cold, it means, I didn't review, I didn't, study for it. And probably, it just happened that I did well on the exam or the quiz and got an A. So I took the test cold means I just, did the test or took the test, but I did not study for it. All right. Yeah. So I hope you guys don't do that at all. Let's move on to this other phrase, to not do well on a test or to do well on a test. Like I said, guys, the words in brackets, you don't have to include them in your sentences, and you could if you want. All right. So you can say, I did well on my quiz. Like for example, if you got 5 out of 5 on your quiz, what would you say? You would say, I did well on my quiz. All right. And if you did not, if you got probably like 2 out of 5, that's not even a passing grade. So what would you say? You'd say, I did not do well on my quiz, right? Yeah. So take a look here, get a good grade on a test. That means to do well, right? Not to do well means to get a bad grade, of course, on a test. Let's take a look at these sentences. I want to do well on this test so I can keep my A average. Of course, I hope you guys managed to do that. He didn't do well. See how it's used here with didn't? He didn't do well. Like, you can see the verb here, the main verb do. Okay. It means take. Okay. Or I mean, like here it doesn't mean take. I mean, but to perform. I mean, okay. He didn't do well. He didn't perform well over here. Okay. On the last test, so the teacher wants to talk to him. Of course, when the teacher realizes that there's a student who's not even putting enough effort in a certain course, she might want to talk to him. And that's what I'm planning to do with some of you soon, inshallah. Okay. I hope all of you do well, and I don't have to do that, but yeah, like before the midterm exam, I'm gonna have to talk to some of you. All right. I hope you decide that you want to do your part, and study and work, so that you feel by the end of the semester that you have gained, not just in terms of grades, but in terms of knowledge and information. Sometimes you can say something like this. Look, I didn't do well in a class. I didn't do well in school. All right. Yeah. Or I did well in probably a certain class, like in American literature, or in school, meaning here, at university. All right. Last semester, I did well in history, but I didn't do well in biology. Okay. I'm sure that you guys don't take these, two courses at all, but you can say last semester I did well in American literature, but I didn't do that well probably in British literature. Okay. Her parents want to talk to the teacher because she isn't doing well in school. That's another way also to talk about this, or to use this phrase. um, she isn't doing well in school, not getting good grades, it means, right? All right, let's move on to here. How did you do on the test? This is another way that this question or this phrase could be used in a question like this. So your friend might ask you, how did you do on your test? Like after Sunday, after your quiz, your friend may call you and, ask you this question. How did you do on the quiz, on the listening quiz? And, you'll say, I did well, or I didn't do that well. Um, let's read this note. This is a personal question that someone can ask after a test, of course. Use responses from the column on the right if you don't want to give a specific answer. Yeah, sometimes we use these responses, don't we? I'm sorry. How did you do on the test? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think I did okay. So these are, responses that, you might want to use and that you actually do use. How did you do on the test? I did okay. Okay. So here it's like, you're less sure, right? I'm not sure. Okay, so here you're more confident of how you did it, right? But, it's not perfect. It's like in between, okay? Because you might say something like, I did great, I did amazingly great, probably, or I did, really good. I did excellent, sometimes you can say also, right? Don't confuse this question with how do you do. Yeah, in English sometimes we have this question which is how do you do. It has nothing to do with how do did you do. Okay, how did you do, is a question asked after you do a test or you perform in a certain way, so you're asked that question. But over here, how do you do, it means like hi, it means like hello. All right, so take a look. How do you do is a response that people use when they are introduced to someone and want to be formal. It is not a true question, okay? So when somebody introduces you to somebody else, you might say, how do you do? All right, yeah. So it's like a different way of saying like, hello and how are you, but it's very formal. And I'd like to introduce you to Jim Brown. So Kate is introducing her friend Anne to somebody by the name of Jim. So she says, Anne, I'd like to introduce you to Jim Brown. Jim, this is Anne. Carl. And says, how do you do? Like, hi, how are you? And he says, nice to meet you. Okay, so this is the proper response for how do you do. Okay. You only use it one time, by the way, when you meet somebody for the first time. That's the only time you use it. So you don't use this with your mom or your dad or your friend that you meet or, like every day or that you talk to on the phone. This is only used when you meet somebody for the first time. Okay? Yeah. Let's move on to take a nap or take naps. Are you that kind of person who sleeps for a short time? Okay? So you might say that every day I take a nap. Or you can just say I nap. All right? It's either this or that. Or I'm like that kind of person who takes naps. Okay, that is, you do it like you do it often. All right, like once a day. All right. So what time is it? Two people are speaking here, as you can see, about 2 o'clock. I think why? I think I'll take a nap for a half hour. Okay, not an hour, a half hour or so. I'm really tired because when you nap, you don't take a long time, sleeping. It's just to kind of if you feel tired and sleepy, you'll just get some kind of rest in there. So let's take a look at these sentences and how the word nap is used, or the phrase take a nap is used, or take naps. The baby takes 2 naps a day. Yeah, babies, they take naps during the day. And before you even probably, move away, they wake up. So their naps are really short, like probably 5 or 10 minute naps only sometimes. They might take longer naps, but I mean, it's normal that you find kids or babies, who nap for like 5 minutes. I have a lot of energy right now because I took a nap. Yes, usually this is the goal of taking a nap. So when you take a nap, what happens is that you become more energetic afterwards, okay? So I have a lot of energy right now because what I took a nap. All right? So I slept for a short time. That's what I took a nap means. Look, pay attention here. It's in the past. So I slept for a short time. And the goal of sleeping for a short time in general, whether you do it all the time or you did it, is to have some energy or more energy than you did before the nap, right? Let's take a look at this phrase, hit the books. Okay, So sometimes we say, I hit the books it means I studied. It's another way of saying I studied. Okay. Of course, guys, as you can see, hit is present, hit is also past, and hit is verb 3. You know, it depends on how you use it in your sentence, right? So when somebody says, you know, last night I hit the books, it means that the person says that he studied, all right? But if the person says that, you know, every day I hit the books, it's present simple, right? You know, I've hit the books in the past sometime, you know, before, you know, I've hit. So here it's present perfect. So it depends on, you know, so it's verb 3 on, you know, the kind of sentence that you use it in, right? Yeah. So hit the books again, according to the book, it means what? Study. And of course, the past is also hit, as you can see. I've mentioned this just a while ago. It's time to hit the books. That means, you know, it's time to study. All right. If you don't, you're going to fail this class, of course. Sorry, I can't talk now. You know, sometimes friends, you know, want to, you know, like have this conversation with each other. Another does not probably, you know, be part of the conversation. Why? Because he or she is really busy. What? Studying, or really busy and wants to study. So you might want to tell your friend who wants to talk all day or night, you know, or chat with you, what, you know, I can't, you know, continue chatting with you. I have to stop right now. Why? Because, you know, you have to, you tell her or him, I have to hit the books. I have to study. So notice after have to, you know, we have a base form verb here, right? I have to hit the books. I have to study. I have to sleep. I have to, you know, uh, begin something, whatever it could be. And of course, as you can see the picture here, you know, it's just, you know, a funny picture of somebody actually hitting the books. It doesn't, when you say, I want to hit the books, it doesn't mean that you're going to use your hand and hit the books like this boy over here. So this is just a caricature, okay? And just to tell you that it doesn't mean this, all right? It's just making fun of the phrase itself, or the, you know, it has nothing to do with this picture. Although the picture is there, it's just, you know, to make you laugh, to get you to smile. Your turn. Ask the 3 students, did a teacher or a parent ever tell you that you needed to hit the books? Well, let me tell you this now. You need to hit the books, guys, all right? Because if you don't, you're not going to do well in your exams. You probably know that the exams are going to are starting sometime soon, right? The midterm exams. All right? So if I were you, I would hit the books. So if yes, why? If no, why wasn't it necessary to say this? Okay? So just say yes. If I were you, I would say yes. All right? Maybe your teacher did not use this phrase, but she told you or he told you to study, right? Yeah, I'm sure all teachers tell you to study. You can say that again. What does that mean? Okay, I agree with you completely. So if somebody says that, you know, in order to get high grades, you need to study long hours, all right? Or you need to do a lot of studying, okay? So if somebody hears you say that and they agree with you, what would they say? Instead of saying I agree, they might want to say, you know, you can say that again. And it means I agree. It's another way of saying I agree, all right? And not just agree completely, 100%. Say this only when you are giving your opinion. The test was really long. See, look at this conversation between 2 speakers. So, you know, these are students talking to each other. One says the test was really long, and instead of saying, you know, I agree, he said, what? You can say that again. Or I needed another hour. I needed another hour, you know, to, you know, complete the exam, or, you know, to answer the questions in the exam, right? Let's move on to your turn. Complete the dialogue. So it says here you can say that again. What would you know, put in this, you know, space, all right? What do you tell your friends sometimes, huh? Like you might say that, you know, teaching online is really awful. That's what I would say, okay? We're doing it because this is the only way that we can teach you, but generally speaking, I might want to say this all the time, you know, I'm not really having fun teaching online. And then, you know, like if my friend like Dr. Nancy or Dr. Aya were, you know, having this conversation, you know, the conversation with me, they would say, you can say that again. Okay. Yeah. Let's take a look at this. Use high intonation and stress on the word. You can say that again. Yeah. So, this is like a matter of, pitch over here. So you can raise the volume, let me say, or, when you say that, just go up with the slide up, not slide down. Okay. And then when you mention that, slide down again. So you can say that again. All right. Yeah. So this is just a matter of pronunciation. So you have to make sure that you understand all these phrases that we have discussed. I bet you remember them. What does it mean to pull an all-nighter? That is to stay up all night, right? To burn the midnight oil. It also means, to stay up late doing things, right? What does it mean to cram for a test? What does it mean to stay up? What does it mean? What does in the nick of time mean? Or to be in hot water? Or like when I say that his mind went blank, what does that mean? We discussed all these phrases, right? What does it mean when I say hand in or turn in something? All right. So they're similar but different because here hand means something else, right? What does it mean to hand back or to hand out, right? What does it mean when I say get an A on a test or get a B on a test or to get good grades or bad grades? Or what does it mean when I say take a test cold? I just mentioned this, right? Or do well on a test, huh? Do well in school, like in general here, not just a test. Here it means just a certain test, but in school, like you do well in all your courses, and as a result, you're a really good student, and you can say that as a result, you can say that, I do well in school, right? Yeah. So it doesn't mean that you've done well, in just one course. No, you always do well, in all the exams that you take, and as a result, you say that, I do well in school, right? But when you say I do well on a test, it just means that specific test probably, or I did well on a certain test. It just means that you did well on that test, and probably, in other tests you didn't do that well, or in other courses. Okay. So how about this? Take a nap. We just mentioned this, right? So if you take a nap, that means you sleep for a short while. Could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20, half an hour. Well, I don't think it could, it should be more than an hour since it's a nap, all right? Hit the books. To hit the books means to what? To begin studying, all right? So if I were you, I would hit the books and I would not waste my time, all right? You can say that again, means, we just mentioned this, and it means that you agree with the speaker, right? On whatever he or she just said or mentioned, all right? Let's move on to the next exercise, mini dialogues. Take a look at these dialogues, all right? So we have two speakers here, one A and one B. Okay. If somebody says, uh-oh, I forgot to pick her up from the airport, what do you think it matches with? All right. What does it match with? All right. It matches with D. This is the best answer. Okay. I read them before I began recording the video. Okay. So, you got to read all of these answers or responses. Okay. Before you could really connect them with each other. All right. I did that before I began recording. So D is the best answer. Well, you're going to be in hot water when she sees you, like in trouble, right? And hot water means in trouble. We talked about this before. All right. So look, I forgot to pick her up from the airport. She's been waiting there for a long time, it seems then, right? How is she going to feel waiting and waiting and there, nobody's coming to pick her up? All right, let's move on to the second sentence. I slept only 3 hours last night. If somebody says I slept only 3 hours last night, what might you respond to that person? You would say, why don't you take a nap? Because they must be tired, right? Yeah. So this could be a probable or possible response from you to that person, to that speaker, right? How about number 3? I'd like you to take out the handout I gave you yesterday. What would you respond to somebody saying this? I'd like you to take out the handout. Who is the speaker here? Who is the speaker here? Your teacher, right? Because she gave you a handout and she's asking you to, you know, um, to take it out of your bag, probably, right? She expects that you have it with you in your bag. What would you say if you're a really good or bad student? I can't find it. Can I have another one, please? Of course, I used to really get mad, of students who would tell me this, because I would always give handouts to students and tell them to, keep them with them, and, to make use of them, like every time I ask, them to take them out. So some students would come up and tell me, Doctora, I can't find it. I lost it. Can I have another one? You know? Yeah. So some students would do this. I hope you're not one of them. All right. Let's move on to number 4. If you don't hit the books a little more, you'll be sorry. Maybe this is your mother telling you this, right? Somebody giving you advice, right? So if you don't hit the books a little more, like if you don't study more, like spend more hours studying, then what will happen? You'll be sorry. Why? Because then you're going to have to cram, and cramming is not fun, right? So the best answer is G. You're right. I'll try to work harder. So, you still have time to study and to work hard, because we still have like 2 weeks before the midterms begin. And if you, take things seriously and you respond in this way or have this attitude, what will happen is that you will do well, hopefully. Okay. I hope that you have this attitude where you say, I'll try to work harder, and that you're right, to somebody like, your mom or dad, giving you advice and telling you to study. All right, let's move on to 5. I ran all the way. Am I late? So who is this person? I ran all the way. Am I late? So, somebody who, probably wants to attend like a meeting, right? Or a party or some kind of event, right? And what would the response be? The best response to somebody saying this, all right? It would be, no, you're lucky you got here in the nick of time. What does that mean? That you're not late, okay? So you're lucky. Why? Of course, because you're not late. You got here in the nick of time, like just at the last minute, okay? In the nick of time means at the last minute. So you're not late, but you were almost, you were about to be late. You were, so you're not late. All right, let's move on to the next sentence, or the next dialogue, let me say. 6, after I cram for a test, I forget everything I studied. See, guys, cramming is not a good idea. Why? Because the result of cramming is that you forget everything sometimes, so quickly. Maybe you might do well in the exam itself. If it's the next day, right after cramming, you might remember like a lot of what you've studied. But the thing is that, such kind of information or knowledge that you study at the last minute, usually you forget it, all right? I forgot everything I studied, as you can see. So the best answer to this, or response, I mean, to this is, so do I. That's the problem with studying at the last minute. See? So these are like students, talking to each other. And one said, after I cram for a test, I forget everything I studied. And this person agrees and said, here, so do I. That's the problem with studying at the last minute. What could we put besides so do I? Remember, we talked about something a while ago. What was that I just talked about, right? You can say that again, right? So you can say that again. Okay? Here, it means the same. Let's move on to how did he do on the test, right? This is, a new dialogue. How did he do on the test? What is the best answer to how did he do on the test? Huh? The best answer is, I think it's I. Let's take a look. I think he did pretty well. Yeah, this is the best answer. So it seems that your dad is asking your mom about you, okay? And how you did on a certain test. How did he do or she do on her test? And then your mom, because probably you told her, um, responds like this. I think she or he did pretty well. Okay? Let's take a look at 8 now. The 8th dialogue. Shh, the baby's taking a nap. When a baby's sleeping or napping, you might want to tell anybody who's speaking to hush. And the response to this is what? Is B. It's the best answer. Sorry, I did not know, or I didn't know, right? Yeah. Okay. Um The last dialogue begins with, can I ask you a question? Why did you take 5 points off my homework? So it looks like this is a student talking to who, or asking who? His teacher, this question, right? So why'd you do that? Take 5 points off my homework. Looks like the homework was not even done, right? Or not done well. And the best answer is, let's take a look at C. I think it's C, because you turned this assignment in late. Yeah, I did that last semester with some students, all right? So like, I would not even look, at the homework. So before I would look at it, I would just, not give them the, full mark. And then I take a look to make sure that they've done the homework right. Yeah, because, when you assign certain time, um, students should stick to it, right? Let's take a look at the other, group of dialogues. Okay, so we also have this. Let's pull an all-nighter together. Mhm. It seems that a group of students want to stay up late and study, all together probably. The best answer or response to this is what? Let's take a look at J. Sorry, I can't. I need to sleep. So it seems that this person is sleepy and cannot stay up with this person who wants to study, right? The first person who wants to stay up and study. Um, English is a crazy language. That's what I always say. But you might not agree. You can say that again. So if you agree, what would you say? You can say that again. Sometimes students like, ask about why certain words are spelt in ways that, you feel that the letter or the sounds are not even there, right? Like might, M-I-G-H-T. So G is silent, right? Might. And that's why we say that sometimes English is crazy, all right? In that context. Now let's take a look at sentence 3. Okay, I was so nervous that my mind went blank, right? That, you have nothing to say, no idea, all right? So what do you say? What would the person say to this sentence? For how long? Hmm? The whole test? Oh my gosh, this would be really something that you don't want to go through, right? So I was very nervous, or so nervous that my mind went blank. Somebody's telling us what happened to him or her during an exam or a test, right? And what do you respond to this? For how long? The whole test. So like it would be, if like their mind went blank during the whole test, that would be a problem. Probably they wouldn't be able to answer any of the questions, right? Let's hope it's not for the whole time, probably just for the first 3 minutes. Sometimes you get nervous at the beginning, and then it works out. Let's move on to dialogue 4. His business is really successful. What is the best response to this? Somebody tells you about somebody's business and tells you that it is successful, you would say, I know, probably. And that really surprises me because he didn't do well in school. I know. And that really surprises me because he didn't do well in school. Usually we expect people um, who are successful, let me say, we expect that people who are successful were probably so good, when they were at school or when they went to school, right? But, this is not always the case, right? Um, let's move on to the next question. It's a question, it's not a sentence, right? Um, 5. Where are you going? So the rest of the dialogues are, questions. Where are you going? And the best answer to this is B, to bed, to this place, to bed. I can't stay up late again tonight. I'm really tired. So it seems like that, these are probably brother, sister, brother and brother, talking to each other at home. All right. 6 now. How did you do on the test? So after your test, I'll ask you this question, right? How did you do on the test? And the best answer to this is okay, but I didn't get an A. Well, who knows? You might get an A, right? But if you feel that you didn't get an A, maybe you didn't, right? Or maybe you didn't study enough. Let's move on to the next question. Did you study? Did you study? And the best answer is no, because among the options, I hope you never say no. But here, these are the options that we have, and these are the best answers, you know, to these questions. No, I have to take the test, cold. So where is that question? Did you study? No, I have to take the test cold. I wonder why this person is saying this, but this is the best answer that we have, okay? I think this is the best answer at least, okay? Did you get your homework back? Did you get your homework back? Did you get your homework back? The best answer is H. She handed it back yesterday. Okay? Yeah. Because you know, hand back something means to give back, right? Yeah. And usually the teacher does that. Did you get your tests back? Okay, tests back. G is the best answer. Let me see. G or H. Let's see. She handed it back. And G, she handed them back yesterday. Okay, so we can use either this or that, but let's see. Did you get your homework back? Okay, this is singular. So let's say 8 is going to be H because it's singular, guys. The only difference is that the 8 is singular and 9 is plural. See, did you get your homework back? So the answer is H. She handed it back yesterday because it refers to homework, okay? But then if you take a look at 9, did you get your tests? So plural we have here back. So be careful with that because that's the only difference, all right? They're the same answers. That's the only difference, is that we should pay attention to the pronouns, okay? So G is the answer. She handed them back yesterday, okay? So just pay attention to that. So when you're asked about something singular, you make sure that your pronouns are singular when you respond. And when you're asked about something in the plural, okay, see, look here, you know, you make sure that your answer also has plural in it, okay? See, take a look over here, them, okay? Yeah. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next page. We have the grammar practice. Follow the directions and complete the sentences. He's tired because he pulled, of course, an all-nighter. So you need what here? An article. And an, okay? Why? Because we have, you know, the sound here, an all-nighter. He pulled an all-nighter, okay? Shh, the baby's taking a nap, okay? This is the best answer. So it's either a, an, or the, all right? I'm going to the library to hit what? The books. Why the? Because, you know, I'm going to study the, you know, my material. And it's known to me. He's happy because, and the phrase is like that as well, you know, hit the books. He's happy because he got an A. We spoke about this, right? Right? An A again. And A. You know, he got 100%. He's unhappy because she got a C. We don't have a vowel here. We have a consonant, and so that's why we need a C. They got to class in the nick of time. You remember this phrase, the nick of time? Yeah, so you need the here because it's part of the phrase, like at the last minute. Now we need to add a suitable preposition here in these sentences, okay? He's happy because he got a good grade, what? On his test, we say, right? So he got a good grade on his test. Her parents are proud of her because she's doing well. What do we say? Either at school or in school, okay? And in the book you have in school, so stick to that. In sentence C, half of the students did well, what? In the test, and half didn't do well in the test, we say. All right, I think I moved fast. Let's go back. I crammed. We took this phrase before. So how do we say, you know, that I, you know, studied a lot in little time? I crammed in the test this morning, or I crammed for the test, you know, this morning. I'm sure I'll forget everything after the test. You got here in the nick of time. We were going to leave without you. And here I have to turn in my essay this morning, right? Like submit it. All right. But after that, I'll be free to meet you for coffee. She's in hot water means she's in trouble. Remember, we talked about that with her boss because she forgot to tell him she had to leave work early. When you leave work early, you have to tell your boss, right? Okay. Use past tense verbs, okay? So what kind of past tense am I going to use? Just the past simple, it looks like. I'm looking at the sentences, guys. All of them have, you know, the past simple here. They crammed all night. Just make sure that you double the M, okay? Double M-E-D. They stayed up. Just add ed to stay, okay? They stayed up all night. We, it's the verb to be, as you can see. So what are we gonna do? Verb to be in the past. We weren't in hot water, like we weren't in trouble. All right. We, past tense, handed in, ed, just ed. Our paragraphs. And then we want to do this in the negative. We didn't turn in. Okay, didn't turn in. Turn is going to be what? Base form. Be careful with this. Okay, because didn't is the past and it's negative too. She always got. All right, that's what this is like her habit, or was her habit when she was probably a student. Maybe she's not anymore. So she always got high grades in school. After his parents talked to him, he hit the books. All right, so it just looks like the present, but we know it's past. Why? Because, you know, his parents talked to him. So we're talking about something that happened in the past. I didn't take. Okay, so take is the same. Why? Because we want it to be in the negative, and that's how we do negative in English. I didn't take the test called I studied a lot. All right. All right. So I hope you understood how to complete these sentences. And if you have any question, you might want to ask me next time. I don't have a problem with that. Error correction. So we have sentences here that have mistakes. All right. So let's read the first one. My report was due yesterday, but I handed in it. No, we don't say this today. I say what? I handed it in today. I handed it in today. All right. So just switch the place of in and it. Okay. Because why? Because what? Because when we have a pronoun like this, we can put it between the verb and the preposition. Okay. When we have this kind of, you know, phrase. All right. When the teacher handed it out, see how this phrase is done? It out, the test. When the teacher handed it out and then the test, that's not okay. I was nervous. So you either say this or that. So either when the teacher handed it out, and we know we're talking about the test, or handed the test out and removed the it, okay? Or handed out the test. You can say handed out the test. So we just cross it, an X on it, and it would be just fine. All right. All right. Let's move on to the next sentence and find out what's wrong with the third sentence. You know, I keep my teacher's handouts organized in my binder. So what's the problem with this sentence? My teachers. Maybe here, you know, I don't see any mistake in this sentence, honestly speaking, okay? I keep my teacher's handouts organized in my binder. There is no mistake in this sentence. I wonder why they have it here, okay? Let's move on to number 4, okay? Because probably I'm talking about one teacher. I'm not talking about all my teachers. Unless this sentence means that I'm talking about all my teachers. If I'm talking about all my teachers' handouts, you know, I would have the apostrophe after the S. Okay, but what if I'm talking about just one teacher? If I'm talking about one teacher, this sentence is fine. Nothing is wrong with it, okay? But if I'm talking about all the handouts that I have from all the teachers that teach me, then like I said, guys, the apostrophe has to be after the S, and the S would be closer to the R, all right? So let's take a look at sentence 4. When the teacher hand back our tests, all right, there's something there. The students always look worried, all right? So this is like something often when the teacher hands back our tests, okay? Hands with an S here because it's, you know, like a regular thing. Every time she does that. When means like every time the teacher does that. The students always, see, look at always. It's like present simple, look worried all the time, all right? So whenever that thing happens, you know, that's how they feel. So it's present simple. It's something that happens all the time. I need to turn in my homework. I don't want to turn them in late. What's the problem here? I need to turn in my homework. My homework, guys, is singular. So we need here what? It instead of them. I don't want to turn it in, all right? Turn it in late, all right? So just switch them into it because remember, homework is singular. Be careful. Some people think that it might be plural. No, it's not. All right. When we talk about homework, it's uncountable, okay? Yeah. Let's move on to 6. Great, I got not a, N-A. Remember, we spoke about this. So we need the article N over here. When he was in his native country, he often, what? When he was. He often not takes, he often took, right? Naps in the afternoon because the tense here is in the past, all right? Okay. She hit the books. She hit the books to study last night. Come on. She hit the books to study last night. That's wrong. She hit the books probably, you know, last night. Okay. She hit the books last night. We don't say she hit the books to study last night. Okay. She hit the books last night. I mean, she studied last night. So just think about hit the books as what studied. And when you say she studied, you don't use this, right? In your sentence. I hope I do well in my next test. I hope I do well in my next test. The best thing to say is I hope I do well on my next test, not in, on my next test, okay? On my test, all right? So not in. When we were teenagers, every Saturday night we are staying? Come on. When we were teenagers, every Saturday night we, what? Stayed up late. Okay, every night we stayed up late. All right, not we are staying. Okay, this is called present continuous. And you know, how do we use the present continuous? Like I'm, you know, teaching you English right now. I am reading these sentences to you, you know, something happening at the moment of speech. All right, this is not, you know, suitable here. All right, so when we were teenagers, every Saturday night we stayed up late. Okay, in the past. YED. Choosing the idiom.